Morning,
And
Padre.
morning, Bones. How you doing today?
Pretty good. I was reading a bit. What triggered it was some of the memes that were coming out. Was looking into there was a couple hangings, I guess, in Mississippi. One was a person of color, and the other was a Caucasian. You see anything about
Right,
that?
right. Yeah, at Delta State University, uh, young black gentleman named Demar Travion or Trey Reed. It was found in Cleveland on the campus, hanging from a tree. Um, the reports indicate from the coroner's office, and they're being kind of hush hush about it, still under investigation. But the report that officially came out said there were no abrasions, contusions, broken bones, or any evidence that any assault had taken place uh, prior to the hanging, and that they ruled it basically self-inflicted or suicide. Public's not willing to accept that. Obviously, down south, you've got a young black man hanging from a tree, definitely symbolic of shadier doings. Um, Police are denying any evidence of that. And then 100 miles away, near a casino. Now, Trey Reed was 21 years old. He was a student on campus. 100 miles away, you had a Corey Zukatis, a 36-year-old white male, on the same day found hanging from a tree. They haven't given much information or any coroner statement on that one. The captain of the police department down in that area confirmed that there was no relationship between the two. They are both ongoing investigations.
Yeah. So that makes me a little upset with the things that are coming out off of these two hangings without having um, any positive information or proof of the fact that it was a lynching, right?
Right,
But in my mind, I think about it. So if it's reported there's no contusions or whatever on the individual's body that would indicate any foul play, if somebody come to lynch me, I dang sure gonna have some bruises, you know.
right. And
Um,
that would make sense.
unless he was drugged, but there was no mention of that,
Right, they
you
didn't
know.
give anything about toxicology. They didn't say
So
anything about that. Now, there
I'm not
was,
jumping. Yeah, I'm not going to jump to a conclusion on that, but it kind of tends to lead to the fact that it was self-inflicted hanging. You know.
right, right. And uh, interesting thing that came popping out about it, the grandfather claims that he was contacted by the DSU police department and notified that his grandson had died in his dorm room, and then later found out that he was found hanging from a tree. Of course, the DSU police department says they have no knowledge of any such call or any contact with the grandfather by phone. The grandfather was the next of kin. I do know that Trey Reed's, or an attorney that's representing Trey Reed's family, is calling for an independent investigation into the death. So I'm sure we'll get more information as that comes out. They
Yeah, and I don't want to belittle anything as far as the death of the person goes. It's pretty traumatic for the family uh, under any case, under any circumstance, to have a death in your family. Um, anyway, that being said, we'll find out more as to maybe how this happened, find
right.
out why.
The only thing we do know is the family is saying, he was just the sweetest young man, would give you the shirt off his back. They had no indication that he was depressed. We don't have a lot of information about people on campus that he knew and what they're saying. Again, it's an ongoing investigation. I think they're keeping all those facts to themselves at this point in time. They're really downplaying and not giving any information on the Corey Zucata's hanging, other than that it was unrelated.
Yeah, and that makes you wonder too. I mean, it's like uh, everything that happens becomes political to a point. Um, being a black person, Trey being a black person in Mississippi, and he was hanging from a tree, goes back to the earlier days of the KKK.
Right. It's very symbolic, and basically the term lynching applies generally to killings by a mob without due process, and it does carry strong associations to violence by white people against black people in the United States. It does appear to have those symbolic type of makings, and people are definitely jumping to that conclusion at this point without evidence.
Right,
There is public uproar about it. Not so much about
right.
Corey Zucata's that was found 100 miles away. But
Yeah, Corey Zukatis. It'd be interesting to know exactly what they have on Corey, because I'm interested. Are the cases similar? They said that they were tied together. There was something that said they were tied together, but they don't have any evidence to prove that.
well, and
You
now
know,
they're saying there is no relationship between the two cases other than the fact 100 miles apart, two people found hanging on the same day. Coincidence, maybe. Hanging is a common form of suicide. Although you do not hear about a lot of black people hanging themselves. Uh, and I don't mean that as a racist statement. It's just like with females, you don't normally find a female using a gun for suicide. It's normally pills. There are psychological reasons behind some of that. So this again is being symbolically labeled as a lynching prior to any evidence coming out to suggest that that's what it was. So we'll
yeah,
try to
it's all
follow up on this.
all based on misinformation and taking things out of context, as it usually is. You
Right.
know, but my condolences go out to the family of both, uh, and I hope they can find some solace and positive actions to move forward in these times.
Exactly. From Potter, Havoc, and Bones, condolences to Trey Reed's family, Corey Zukatis' family, and those that are affected by these deaths.